What's up, everybody? Today we're going to talk about two value stocks. I would say deep value stocks. They are both stocks that I own in my portfolio, and they reported earnings recently, so we're going to give updates on them. And the two companies are, first, Nomad Foods, and the next company is GSL, Global Ship Lease. I've talked about both these companies in multiple videos. They're fairly simple companies to understand how they make money. Those are often some of my favorite businesses. I think both companies are pretty cheap. As always, nothing here is a recommendation for you to buy or sell any of these stocks. I just give you my opinion and I tell you what I'm doing with my money. And as you know, I own both of these stocks. If you get value out of the video, subscribe to my channel. If you want to join my Discord or grab my Google Sheets template here where you can analyze companies, then consider supporting me on Patreon. Link to that will be down below. Now, let's get into it. And Global Ship Lease, they just reported today, Friday. This video might go up Saturday, but I just read their earnings report. I listened to their call, so it's fresh on my mind. We're going to start with that. I've owned this stock for a few years now. It's been roughly a double for us. When you add in the dividends that they pay out, it's been a little more than a double. They own container ships and they lease these ships out to the large transport companies like Maersk, Hapag-Lloyd. These ships typically have leases or charters of a couple years, sometimes shorter, sometimes longer. But because their ships are being leased for several years, they have really good visibility as far as what their cash flow is going to be for the next quarter, for this year, for even the next year. They have 100% of revenue days covered for 2026. That means their ships fully booked for this year. For 2027, 86% covered. So they have a pretty good idea of what their earnings are going to be like for next year as well. I should point out that their costs are pretty easy to estimate. They pay for the costs associated with crewing the ship, with maintaining the ship, but they don't pay for fuel. They don't pay for voyage expenses. The transport company like Zim or Maersk, they're the ones who are deciding where the ship is going, and they're paying for the fuel to get it there. So the volatility in energy prices, it's not really as big of a deal for Global Ship Lease. In fact, in some ways, it could be a tailwind because as fuel becomes more expensive, it actually becomes more economical to slow your ships down. And if you imagine that these ships all on the seas are all slowing down, that is effectively like removing supply from the container ship market. And shipping, I think of as a commodity. It's a little bit different than other commodities. Typically, when you say commodity, you think maybe oil or uranium, iron ore, copper, silver, some hard asset. But shipping in many ways functions like a commodity in that a transporter, a charterer, they have little loyalty to who they are chartering these ships from. Global Ship Lease has no brand value. There's nothing unique to what they're offering in the same way that there's no brand value for an upstream oil producer. The price that they're able to charge to charter these ships is set by the market, and it's basically set by supply and demand. And like many commodities, prices can be extremely volatile. Changing supply or demand in either direction would have a massive effect on prices. In fact, if you just look at where shipping rates have been over the last 5 years, you see that, at times in 2022, shipping rates were more than 4 times as expensive than they were in 2023. So very volatile. Right now, charter rates decently strong, but who knows where this will be in a year and 2 years, 3 years when GSL has to renew their contracts. There's a risk that, there's going to be more ships and that's going to drop rates, and then the earnings for a company like GSL are going to go down meaningfully. Now, that might happen. I can't predict charter rates. Predicting charter rates is like predicting the price of any other commodity, which is to say virtually impossible. But a couple things to keep in mind is that GSL is focusing mostly on smaller ships. The order book, the ships that are coming to the market in the next several years, they're mostly these large ships that transverse the big trade routes, China to the US. The future competition for this segment of smaller ships, it's not as fierce. And as you have increased tension between the US and China for trade there, that decreases demand for some of these main lane trade routes and can increase trade, China to Indonesia, China to Australia, which are they're smaller routes. Also, another big story that's been going on for a couple years now is that the Red Sea has been effectively closed to container ships. Ever since the Houthis down here in Yemen started firing on ships, most container ships started just going around the Cape of Good Hope, going around Africa. And just as it seemed that ships might start going through the Red Sea again, you had this whole conflict break out in Iran, the Persian Gulf, the Strait of Hormuz, which, yes, while it's over here, that has effectively stopped the normalization in volume that might have otherwise taken place in the Red Sea. And when ships have to go all the way around Africa, that increases the time that these journeys take, and that has the effect essentially of removing supply from the market. And as you know, basic supply and demand, you remove supply, that's going to increase prices, which in this case means it's going to increase the charter rates. So while everything might look different in a year or two, I think there's reason to be cautiously optimistic on container rates. The next couple years of earnings for this company are, again, effectively locked in. They'll earn, somewhere around $10 a share for this year and likely the next year. And this stock is trading for about $40 a share. Just 4 times earnings, and the next couple years of earnings are very solid. On top of that, the balance sheet is pretty good. The ships they own are likely worth significantly more than their book value. They announced this quarter they're selling 3 ships. They're selling these 3 ships for more than the price that they're holding them on their book for. So if we just go over to their balance sheet, you see they have quite a bit of cash on their books. They also have in book value about $2 billion in just their ships, their vessels. And then once you subtract out their debt, you get about $1.9 billion in equity. That's significantly more than the market cap here of about $1.4 billion. So the market is saying, we don't really think the assets are worth quite what you're holding them for on your books. But every time that they make a transaction with ships, they've sold ships in previous quarters as well, they sell them for more than the book value. If anything, it seems that the market value of their ships is significantly more than the book value here. And while we're on the subject of their balance sheet, a concern when I was buying into this company was the debt. The debt was pretty high. I thought the cash flow that they had contracts for made up for this. I thought the risk reward was good. And, in the past few years, while I've held the stock, the debt pretty much keeps on coming down. Debt goes down, cash goes up. This is while they're paying out a dividend to shareholders. The dividend is currently a little less than 7%, 6 to 7% dividend yield. So bottom line, I think there's a lot to like here. I think the stock still looks cheap. It's up about 50% in the past year. And yes, on this earnings report, today it's down about 5%. Can't really tell you why. There wasn't really much new in this report other than the sale of these ships. I'm really not worried about the price action here. I'm not sure exactly how many earnings calls for this company that I've listened to, but it's definitely in the double digits, and they're always pretty boring. They say the same things, which is basically just, we made a lot of money. Sometimes the stock moves up, sometimes it moves down on these calls. Bottom line is, I like this management team. I think they're reputable. I like the company. I think it's cheap. I think I've said in the past that as the price gets closer to book value, I would probably be looking to trim my position. So in a previous video, I might have said that as they got to about $45 a share, maybe I would be looking to trim. But the fact of the matter is, they keep on making money. The book value keeps on going up. The earnings and cash flow continue to look strong. The fair value that I think this is worth continues to go up a little bit every quarter. I don't see any reason to sell my position today. It's just my opinion. Again, not advice to buy this stock, but I like GSL. Now let's move on to Nomad Foods. And the chart for this one looks basically the opposite of the chart for GSL. We're down about 42% in the past year. If you look over 5 years, it doesn't look much better. I bought this stock at about $13 and change. I made a video on YouTube about it at the time, and I've made several videos about Nomad since then. I've continued to add to my position. I've bought everywhere between $9 and $13 a share. My cost basis here is 11 and change. They pay a nice dividend as well, but even when you add in the dividend that we've received, I'm down, maybe 5 to 10% on my cost basis right now. They reported their earnings a couple weeks ago, so let's take a look, see if it changes our opinion on Nomad. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with this company, they are the market leader in European frozen food. They sell frozen fish, chicken, potatoes, peas, all sorts of vegetables, some pre-prepared meals, a little bit of ice cream, pizza, a whole bunch of stuff. And they're selling to retailers, to grocery stores, places like Tesco. Those are their clients. And then those retailers, they're selling to the end consumer. They're the ones who are selling to you when you go to the store and you put a Nomad Foods product in your shopping cart. So Nomad's revenue, it's not actually coming from the end consumer buying their product. It's coming from the grocery stores buying their products. And in the long run, those should be balanced. Those should roughly even out. But in any quarter, in the short term, they might be fairly different from each other. Whenever you have a company with this type of relationship with a retailer, you might hear the terms sell in and sell out. The sell in, that's the amount that the manufacturer, Nomad Foods in this case, that's what they're selling in to the retailer. That's the revenue of Nomad Foods. The sell out, that is what the retailer, the grocery store, that's what they sell to the end consumer. That's effectively the demand for Nomad Foods. Now, they're both important, but I actually think if you were to just look at one, I'd rather know what the sell out is. What is the end consumer buying? How are the habits of the end consumer changing over time? If a retailer wants to load up on their inventory, that could inflate the sell-in number, could make it look better than it actually is. Also, if a retailer wants to destock their inventory, if they have too much, that could make sell-in go down. That could make the revenue for Nomad Foods look pretty bad. And this could all happen while the sell-out is actually just constant. Nothing is changing in consumer behavior or the demand for their products. So now that we have a little bit of the groundwork for, how does a business like this work, let's take a look at the quarter. And we see that organic revenue was down 5%, with volume down 4%. That sounds really bad, but retail sellout was flat. The decrease here was due to inventory and order pattern realignment. What does that mean? Well, first, some retailers did stock up on inventory in the previous quarter, and that was partly due to the fact that during this quarter, Nomad was doing a lot of their price renegotiations. The grocery store, they can change the price of products on their shelves much more frequently than the manufacturer, Nomad Foods in this case, can change the price that they are charging to the retailer themselves. Nomad is typically only renegotiating prices once a year. Some retailers increase inventory before this negotiation, and that led to sell-in being lower for this quarter. Also, Nomad previously had these quarterly sales incentives for their sales team, and that would lead to an increase in sales at the end of a quarter. Nomad's new CEO, Dominic, he changed the incentives here. So now we don't have this big pop of sales at the end of the quarter, and they're being compared to last year when they did. So overall, sell-in, which again, that's Nomad's revenue, that's down for this quarter. But the end user demand was flat. When we're modeling out a company, we're asking ourselves, what does the future look like? What does growth look like? What are margins like for the next, 5 years? And for me, Nomad, previously, my base case was revenue growth is just flat for 5 years. I'm assuming no growth. Now, they talk about some tailwinds and new products and great reasons why they think that they're going to win. But for me, a big thing I'm looking at is sellout, and that's flat. Frozen food demand as a whole, looking fine. I don't have a big point of view on frozen food going away or taking over in the future. It's really not part of my thesis here. Overall, for the quarter, again, revenue showing as down about 5%. Margins are down. This is mostly before their price negotiations. That will help a little bit, but I am forecasting margins to pull back. Previously, their average was about 12% operating margins, and I'm looking at to pull back to about 11%. The increase in energy prices isn't great for them. Not a deal breaker, but certainly a headwind. Just to highlight one section of the earnings call that I think would be interesting to a lot of people, the CEO said, as a testament to my confidence, this past quarter, I purchased 377,000 shares of Nomad Foods in the open market, while Ruben, the CFO, bought 72,000, adding to open market purchase he made last September. This was in addition to the 500,000 shares that each of our co-founders purchased during the quarter. Also, as indicated earlier, we are implementing new incentive compensation plans. Our aim is to ensure that employees within our markets are rewarded for the results they can control, and at the executive level, we're incentivizing more share ownership to ensure alignment with shareholder interests and foster a culture of ownership. In other words, the insiders are buying shares. Like to see this. In fact, after this report, Noam, one of the two co-founders of this company, bought 700,000 more shares, almost $7 million worth of stock. The CEO, the CFO, and another director all bought shares. And this was after this earnings report. This is in addition to the shares that Dominic, the CEO, was talking about in those remarks. That's quite a bit of insider buying. Now, never buy or sell a stock because the insiders are buying or selling, but certainly when a lot of the insiders are loading up, it's definitely a bullish signal. Now, as far as the market reaction to this report, kind of some interesting price action. The stock was up about 10% the day before the report, and then it dropped basically back down to where it was. It hit a low around $9 a share. Now it's up, maybe 13% from that low. So a bit up, a bit down. As far as my assumptions for the future, these are the numbers that I had last time we took a look. Was basically my base case. Revenue stays flat for 5 years. Operating margins pull back a little bit to 11%. I'm giving them a 9 times multiple, and this is a multiple of enterprise value to operating income. The enterprise value is taking into account the debt here. The debt is significant. We've talked about it in past videos. With that said, they don't have a maturity. They don't have a big payment coming due for quite some time. The rates on their debt are pretty low, so they can manage it, but yeah, decent amount of debt in the company. Anyway, with the assumptions in my base case, you're looking at about a 17% annualized return from today's stock price. That's more than a double over 5 years. My bear case, revenue continues to decline about 2% a year. I pulled back the free cash flow margin a bit. I think the main competitor that would be contributing to this decline would be private labels. Think about the brands that your grocery store actually owns themselves. That is, I think, the main competition here. And if that materializes, and I'm only giving them a 7x multiple, then you'd be down 3% every year for 5 years on the stock, down 13% even after holding the stock over 5 years. And yes, this takes into account any money that's coming back to you in the form of a dividend. You are still down. So obviously, wouldn't be great, not a disaster, but certainly nothing you would be happy about. Now, my bull case assumes small revenue growth, pretty much in line with inflation, 2% growth. Operating margins are able to get back to their long-term average of 12%, and I'm giving the company a 12x multiple. And if this comes true, you're looking at a 36% annualized return. That's more than a quadruple on your money over this time. So overall, I think the risk reward is good here at today's prices. I'm certainly not planning on selling my shares. The stock's trading for, about 6 times their estimate in earnings per share for the year. So on this earnings report, I'm going to do nothing with my position. Again, nothing in this video is advice for you to buy a global Ship Lease or Nomad Foods, just giving you my opinion, telling you what I'm doing with my money. So if you got value out of the video, subscribe to the channel. Again, if you want to join my Discord or grab my Google Sheets template, consider supporting me on Patreon. Link to that will be down below. And if you agree or disagree with anything I said in this video, leave that down in a comment too. And I hope to see you all in another video.